Hey all, it's class time. While people log in, I'll talk about an author because a bit of history about the author is not required for all to follow exactly everything. His name is Eliphas Lévy, a French writer by the name of Alphonse Louis Constant. And Alphonse Louis, he wrote it with Hebrew letters, and then he read it as Hebrew letters. Alphonse became Eliphas, and Louis became Lévy. His name was Alphonse Louis Constant. Constant in French means constant in English, which means that it persists through time, like it doesn't alter. That part he just left as Zached, the word constant in Hebrew. But he signs his books Eliphas Lévy. And he writes in French an absolutely fabulous poetry that is both technical and metaphorical at the same time. You read each paragraph and you feel and understand what he's saying, and at the end of the paragraph you have no idea what you just read. You can read an entire chapter of Eliphas Lévy and find it spectacular and fabulous what you have discovered and have no memory of the chapter you just read. Sometimes. It is fantastic. Eliphas Lévy is such a good writer. And before modern science of the 1900s accaparated themselves the term agent for a chemical agent and magnetic for metals that attract, and electromagnetic field for an electronic field that affects the behavior of electrons, basically. That's very layman. This is not accurate science. It's how I can explain with the little I understand of it. Am I out of focus, or do I really just look like that all the time? Focus. Hopefully. Anyway. So from the 1500s to the 1800s, magic and science was a bit molded together, intertwined. And an agent is something that acts in the name of, or something that acts, that causes. In chemistry, an agent, a chemical agent, is something that provokes a change. A reagent is something that is acted upon. Okay, so an agent acts, a reagent reacts. That's in chemistry. But before chemistry, these terms, agent and reagent, come from occultism. It comes from when science and metaphysics, we didn't really know, like it was knowledge. It was just all knowledge, some people who know. And Eliphas Lévy speaks of the great magical agent and the magnetic agent as more or less the same thing. Now we get into the core of the class. Sometimes I teach about potentials, psychological and metaphysical potentials that we have inside as masses of consciousness and energy that want to go towards a direction, and they affect your thoughts, eventually your words, eventually even your actions. They cause you to become angry or happy. They are agents, and you become the reagent. Okay? So the potentials we have inside our emotions and feelings and consciousness and thoughts that pushes you to decide things, that mold your experience, okay? Eliphas Levi was explaining the great magical agent as a magnetic force. And before magnetic was exclusive to metals and electromagnetic fields, before we even knew the explanation of why a metal can attract another, magnetic was any form of magna, any form of a potential that pulls, that attracts. Now, because science used and cornered the word magnetic as a purely scientific and objective thing, today the New Age world calls it the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is so unpoetic. Because of the word law of attraction, we go up in our head, we think too much. The great magical agent, which is the supreme magnetic force, if you think in terms of the old occultists from 1500s to 1800s, it is a feeling, an energy, potential, a mass of consciousness that exerts a karmic or a causal pull on nature. Eliphas Levi was explaining that someone who understands the working of the great magical agent and the magna, the magnetic force, can become a king over the years and over with practice and ritual work. And of course, the word king here is used metaphorically, like most of his parable and explanation. Because if everyone becomes a king, no one is. Then everyone is just the people. Okay. He meant that you become the king of your little circle, that you can gain power and authority, which was a marketing stunt because people in that time studied occultism to become the leader of their little circle. Now, you put many people who seek power together, and together they form a government or a revolution, and they all want to be in charge, which causes them to be in charge of everyone else, but also causes everyone inside the circle of these people to have a challenge, to battle for power. So it is not a good attitude to want to use the great magical agent or the occult magna to become a king, okay, in a literal sense, but in the sense of bettering your situation. Because then Eliphas Levi, after speaking of the power of kings, would speak of, humility and simplicity and virtuous attitude, because the way of the saint is not the way of a fascist or a dominant person, We spoke last week, if I don't confuse it with the other class I gave, we spoke of the hormones inside and how to reset your hormonal tolerance. We're studying in nature how to reset the balance, okay? And that is not a medical thing. If you have a hormonal imbalance, go see a doctor. Otherwise, it's a holistic trick that helps. Being happy, embracing sadness, and finding peace and all that. Before that, I spoke of the various forces in nature. Now I'm speaking of the great magical agent, as Eliphas Levi was explaining it, as this substance that is absolutely everywhere and usually neutral and only imprinted with the original thought and feeling of the creator when he made all things in nature. So it keeps nature doing what it does. But if you take that agent that is everywhere and you agglomerate it, and you imprint it with your thoughts, an intellectual plan, feelings, and desire and willpower, it becomes a mass of magna that attracts to you the reality that you're attracting. The same universal laws, if you want, that rule over your potentials inside, which is made of thoughts, consciousness, usually traumas and desires and stuff like that. And it keeps you in a certain state. I've recently worked on the fact that I was persecuted when I was young, having bullies, and sometimes it was even mild torture. And it kept me in a defensive way. So I was still defensive lately, just as a reaction. And I'm pretty sure I am not done with that integration, I guarantee you, because I have it deep in my core. That potential has me reflexively react. It's a reagent. I react to being defensive to certain situations. And of course, when I'm in charge of my consciousness, I act virtuously with kindness and love. But I just need that stimuli and bam, I'm defensive. And sometimes aggressively defensive. If you look at yourself and you understand these potentials are simply following the laws of the universe, everywhere that a potential is agglomerated and imprinted with consciousness, thought, feelings, and willpower, ingrained with determinedly repeated enforcement, it charges the magna of the great magical agent substance that is everywhere. It is interesting to read Eliphas Levi. In reading all these terms that appear to be scientific, but you can fully understand what he means when you remember that this is pre-science. He wrote more or less around 1860, before and after that. But that was the prime. 1860 was the prime of his writing period. That decade, if you want, where he published absolutely fantastic and marvelous books. Yeah, I was trying to find a more poetic word for book. He wrote books on occult science that are fantastic and cryptic, complex, because you need to read it in his context, which is extremely conscious. Eliphas Levi inspired me the entire system of potentials that I then explained. He taught me about the great magical agent and the golden chain and principles where I could tune into his consciousness and learn from him in a transcendental sense to gain even more insight in what he meant. After reading everything he wrote, to my knowledge, except one book that doesn't exist anymore or extremely hard to get a copy of, I tuned into his consciousness and prayed and meditated the way that in the Magia you would charge the 5 masters, okay? And then I've reread everything again. I read all of his books except 2 in this case, twice, and got so much more because it was felt, it was experienced. You see, great beings like him, great masters, they can choose to deliver in the collective consciousness their wisdom, their dharma, their understanding. And because of this great magic agent and because of their skills in manipulating it and using it, they can leave a bigger trace. And then you can learn from them. And that's how we practice the charging of the masters, for example, because of this wisdom that I've learned through our golden chain that comes from Melchizedek, later Solomon, later, many great Jewish and Christian masters. Let's talk about the agent itself now. This substance of consciousness in everything, it's consciousness. We usually think as consciousness something very subtle, very high. But if you feel your chi or your prana in the breath and around you, you can understand or feel and gain the experience of having this almost tangible sensation of an unmanifest sensation of that ethereal substance that is everywhere. It's not just chi. Chi is one application of the magic agent. It's like one result of it. It's not just prana. Prana is one type of application or experience of the great agent. It is the supreme, it is the mana of the Hindu and the mana of the video game for mages. Yeah, it comes from that. It is the mana that imprints and that pervades all things. It is Samanta Vajranam Ham. Okay? It's that energy in all things. Consciousness, mass. It's pure God. It's divinity. Not manifest, but at least substantiated. Okay? So let's contemplate ourselves as bathing in the ocean of Mem for the Kabbalists. It's the ocean of Mem before the noon of tangibility. It's the ocean of Mem, conscious energy. It is not Mum, Mom, or Mam. It is Mem, the E of understanding and being aware of. Okay, the ocean of awareness and consciousness. You're bathing in the great magical agent. Consider that you are already imprinted with the occult magna, the primordial or original magnetic agent. Okay? That you already pull and push. It's not just the pull in the case of the magna, it's pull and push. To attract and reject or push away, remove from your existence feelings and events. Consciously, it always works better with the pull. When you consciously charge something, you want to pull peace and harmony. You don't want to focus on rejecting aggression, because then your mind is on aggression, which could pull it, okay? But in the traumas we have and the potentials we've built unconsciously, we have the push and the pull, like always manifesting rejection and at the same time pushing away love and opportunities of peace and harmony. Okay, we have that. Now focus on the magna and accept that you have already been charging the great magical agent with your own consciousness, whether you want it or not, because that's what happens. And you are bathing in the ocean of the great magical agent. You're bathing in the Kabbalistic Mem. It is already imprinted. Most of it is imprinted just with nature. Like, if you consider the amount of potentials you have out of trauma, but also out of success and hope and beautiful experiences, the majority of your charge magna inside your potentials is not your acting potentials, it's just nature. Okay, most of your magna is just naturally tainted by Brahma, by Eheye, by the original thought. Only a little part of you is your potentials, but it's the only part you see, because they force you to get angry or laugh or love or feel lonely or depressed or happy. Okay, most of your magna is untainted. It's just nature. Like, come on cells, take in the oxygen, put the carbon dioxide out, and let's go lungs and circulate that, diaphragm, breathe. And it's just in nature, okay? Most of it is still just nature. Even if what dominates our psyche is the little part that is tainted with ego. So you are bathing in this ocean of magna, and you just accept it. Every group, a political group, school, a hospital, every group, a charitable organization, a terrorist group, a group of Doctors Without Frontier, every group together have a collective idea. So collectively, there's a lot of humans that focus on one principle. So they affect some of the untainted magna that they commonly share in the goal of that group. And that group together will create what we call an egregore. And an egregore means aggregated or agglomeration. An egregore means an accumulation of the magna into one entity. The same laws of potentials inside you build a functional entity with more or less form, but it will have the colors, the logo, the slogan, and it will work in function of the collective intention of the group. During a voting session, especially on vote day, the mages can see egregores of every political party actually fighting on the metaphysical plane, on the mystic planes.
I don't have any information about that.
Yeah, even Google is freaking out. So you can see groups collaborating together, and then egregores, like role-playing characters, merge together, and they look like princesses or monsters depending on what your egregore is based on, okay? The great magical agent manifests everywhere, in every individual as your own potentials. The great ones and the lesser ones, the ones of happiness and the ones of suffering, all of them. They manifest in society as egregores. The magnet of this occult agent, the great magical agent, it's a reality, it's a law of the universe, it's how it functions. And once you understand how it works, then you can start learning about ritualic work. Now, ritualic work is not just occult rituals. Ritualic work is, let's take an example of Eliphas Levi. He says, you want a magical blade of grass for a specific ritual that you will do in 1 year. You need a magic blade of grass. So the unaware seeker will start to seek a magic blade of grass. They will go in various fields and try to find ley lines where magic grass grows. And Eliphas Levi says, yeah, that could work if you spend much time on it, but if you really want a magical grass, you go out in the morning at sunrise, you go in a field and you take a normal blade of grass, you pick it up, you kiss it, and then you put it in your ritual book. And in the evening, at sundown or in the evening, you take it and you throw it out in the field somewhere close to where you picked it. You just give it back to the earth in the symbol of the decreasing sun, of the letting go of the death of the day, if you want. And tomorrow you do it again. And you do that without fail for 364 days. It's the determination, the power, the energy, the persistence, the will that you put in it, that on the 365th day, you will take that blade of grass and you will hold an absolutely powerful, magical blade of grass that will be used today in the ritual that you planned 1 year ago. That is a magical blade of grass. That is a ritual. Something that you repeat, religiously. Well, not in the case of religion, but, consistently, periodically, with so much empowerment, so much will invested in it, that it becomes powerful. That is ritual work. Then there's the occult ritual work where you learn about symbols and everything and you bind them together. But the power that fuels those rituals is the amount of time you spend charging every symbol, every letter, every form, every graphic art, every little thing that you use. Your training of numerology and gematria and archangeology and natural spirits. The time you spend speaking to Jinn, Paralda, Nisha, and Gob. And then you've built a relationship with all these forces in the universe. And then you're not the only one doing the ritual. It's whichever entity or principles of nature that you now invoke, asking them to also participate in tainting and infusing the great magic agent with the intention you have set for that ritual. So you can do that ritual just once, but all your energy you've investing in building your cultum, your occult tools inside you, but also outside, the objects and the area, the place, it all comes together. Now, if you repeat this ritual that many times on a specific day, depending on the correspondence of which force and entity and name of God you use, that determination, that consistency is what makes you powerful as a mage, as an occultist. And that is how you train to use the great magical agents to your favor. This year, in speaking about nature and various aspects, well, one aspect of nature is this fantastic, fabulous, great magical agent, the Kabbalistic Mem, in which we are bathing, dripping. The entire universe is filled with it. Anything that is non-manifest but so ready in potential, it's the fabric of the universe. It came out from vacuity, from this moment before the beginning. It is still non-existent, but it has everything that can exist in it. It is infinite in possibility and potential. And it's just waiting to receive some inspiration of love or hatred, of peace or conflict. And you, being a conscious entity, are already affecting it, whether you like it or not, with whatever you have in mind. But mostly what you have in heart, and even more what you have in willpower, what you act on. You are powerful if you train to be powerful. This agent is everywhere. Understanding it, accepting it, and simply contemplating it. Oh, great Mem. Ocean of possibility and power. I'm contemplating you just to understand you and feel you. I want to embrace you and for you to embrace me. And of course, in me it just said, I already am. What are you waiting for? Yes, exactly. You see, take the time to feel it without wanting to taint it immediately. Just you'll taint it with the fact that you want a relationship with it. you will taint the great magical agent with the idea that you want to experience it, and you will experience it by doing that. And the psychiatric and psychologists out there might say that, yeah, you create that in your mind, so now you imagine that you feel it until you have such power that you can even affect causality and physically manifest events and eventually mass. And then it cannot be just in your mind if you as a mage has an effect on the world. And as you train, you will have such an effect on the world that you feel like a king without being one. You will feel like the allegoric king of Eliphas Levi, where you will be in charge of your little circle, or you will participate with the other kings, like in a group where there's harmony amongst the deciders, and then your focus is on what humanity gains from it, and not just you. Sakyamuni Buddha said, your compassion is incomplete if it does not include yourself. Now let me remind you that your compassion is incomplete if it does not include the others. Okay? It's everyone. It's for the benefit of all beings. Do this with a genuine intention of bettering your life. Yes, please do it and use the great magical agent to gain something out of it. Yes, this is not narcissistic or egocentric. This is self-love. But gain something without robbing someone else of the same possibility. Focus on what you gain, never implying that someone will lose it. Like, I want to have that girlfriend. Yeah, this is mind control of someone else. You don't want to do that. Focus on the experience you want with a lover and let the universe choose how you get it. Focus the amount of money you need won't work. Focus on what you want to buy with the money, and it might appear without you buying it. Instead, you say, I need money. Let's do rituals to gain money. Well, what do you want? Oh, because I want to buy a house. Focus on a house. Maybe money will come. Maybe you'll get a gift. Maybe you'll be in a situation where you start living in a house of someone else that is the dream place you want to be. Don't control how what you want come, and learn to know really what you want. But why do you want a house? Well, because I want to raise a family. Well, stop focusing on the house. Focus on a proper environment for raising a family, and then maybe you'll start raising a family in a way you've never dreamed possible. Focus on what you want. You will bend the laws of nature. The great magical agent, untainted by anyone, currently maintains nature as it is because it is at the root of the laws of nature. It took the first breath of Eheye. It was imprinted by Yahweh in its first moment of awakening. And that's the laws of nature. But if you start to taint it, it will change from following the basic laws of nature and do something unnatural, and I would even say supernatural. And unnatural doesn't mean evil. That's just a common expression. Unnatural means not binded by the laws of nature. Welcome to the Matrix. Don't call it the law of attraction. The word law of attraction is such an intellectualized, in my opinion, an intellectualized version of this romantic relationship you have with the fabric of the universe, with the veil on all things, There is great passion and love to cultivate with the essence of creation. The infinite ocean of Mem, this raw power that you have access to if you take the time to train. Keep doing personal growth to become a better person and resolve your potentials. You want to remove the taints that are undesirable in your emancipation. And the less things you have inside that contradict what you really desire, and the more you know what you really desire, the more you can focus on it and manifest through ritualic work. If you say, I'm going to do a practice every day, do it every day. And if you realize that you're not doing it every day, stop saying every day and then not do it, because you're betraying your own word. Accept where I will never say I'm doing this every day, because I know I'm not going to be consistent. So in order not to betray my word, I say I do this sporadically lately. Then I'm honestly doing it when I think about it. It is once in a while, but I do it consistently, almost every day for some period of time. And I'm honest in admitting I am not a consistent person. Now, I used to do practices, charging this mantra, would not miss a day. It would be 3 a.m. with the major earth mantra, Om Ahim Klim Saom Sarana Bhavaya. Long one. And I would eventually wake up. My mala was on the ground. I did it standing so I wouldn't fall asleep, but my mala was on the ground and my hand was like this, empty. And I don't know how long I had been starting there. Well, I think I was more or less there on my mala. I just keep going. And after an hour, I would wake up, standing up. And the mala was on the ground. It's like, I'm standing up so I don't fall asleep. I was just transcending. Oh my God, finish at 4:20. It was funny. I was very consistent for how many years? Decades. And that built great power. One does not turn a mage in a few days. And one does not turn a mage by just learning within his head. It takes practice, it takes involvement. And be honest with your level of discipline. If you lie to yourself, you're adding an extra contradiction. If you're not going to do it daily, don't say daily. It's like, now I've got this program, I have to do it. It's like, okay, accept how you are. You'll progress slower if you don't do it daily, but don't say daily unless you really are going to do it. And if you realize you're not that kind of person, you're not. Okay. Honesty with yourself in the cultivation of the great magical agent. Honesty with yourself is primordial. It's so important. This agent is everywhere. Don't manipulate the agent that is affecting other people unless it's out of compassion with the idea of a benefit for all, including the person you're using the agent on. If that person is conscious, it's better, but it's not required. If what I mean is, if you pray for someone, you don't have to tell them. If you pray for someone to become healthy and happy, or heal, or they don't have to know. If you do a ritual for the benefit of someone or a group or a family, you don't have to tell them, because your intention is just a blessing, and it's powerful and beautiful. But if you think in terms of, I'm going to start manipulating what goes on at work so I can gain favors, ooh, it's very touchy. If you want to do that, I recommend instead learn to be performant and efficient and useful at work. Be kind to your coworkers and bosses. Don't be in conflict with the authority, even if in your mind they are assholes. Practice forgiveness and efficiency at work. That's one thing. Make the workplace good. Make yourself known as a reliable person. And don't bitch ever, so no one will have something hold against you. Then you do your ritual work, not focusing on manipulating what goes on at work, but just focusing on what I desire out of life is having a harmonious experience at work. And trust that the magic agent will do what it can. And then the Hindu principle of Kamarutatva will kick in. The Kamarutadva, and if you want divinity, the Hindu divinity Mahakamadev, the great god of desire, is the great magical agent, or the principles of the Magna. Okay, and the Kamarutadva just will go in effect by pulling and pushing and operating the universe in intricate ways you can't even imagine possible, in order to manifest the sanctified reality that you want, that has no intention of hurting someone. Like, that person should lose his job so I can be happier. That's not a way to do it. I want to be happy at work. I pray for harmony. Trust the process. Those of lower consciousness will be eliminated. A friend of mine, she had been a lover for a year, but long after she was a friend, that was when I was, 24, 25. And we're close friends, always speaking of occult science. That was really, really interesting. And she was at work, and she said, the bosses, these people, they're hard. So I'm just trying to be useful and compassionate, and they all love me, but they're still assholes. But, I'm trying the forgiveness and compassion thing, and, I'm doing your best, my best. And I say, just pray for the truth to be revealed, for the truth to come out, for your heart to be preserved. Don't speak about finally being respected by these bosses. Just speak of, you want to feel respected. Don't think it's the bosses. Just, you might become respected by others. You don't know. Just check it. Just be, without projecting your anger and hatred. Just be respected. This was a multi-million-dollar business. It was huge. After 3 months, it completely crashed. It destroyed that entire business and the finance of these 3 arrogant shark bastards. And she had to find another job, which was absolutely spectacular. Better salary, everyone loved her, there were respectful bosses. Don't choose how the great magical agent will bring you what you desire. And be genuine and holy in your intentions. And then, do the months and years of learning the ritual work and the occult science, the mantras and the Kabbalah, the charging of letters and drawing symbols and, invoking the Arabatil to purify you, and have a roller coaster of a training. And then have such beautiful power. For the benefit of all beings. And if motivated by self-love, you call for yourself something beautiful, and have absolutely no intention of robbing someone else of that, you want something. You want an experience. You will be bathed in blessings. And don't worry, your karma will still come for you. Good or bad. Happy or sad. There's no good or bad karma. It's the one that we enjoy, the one we don't. It's a very human perspective. It's a fantastic aspect of nature that I love to talk about, that I rarely talk about. Now, my girlfriend, she wanted to buy me a t-shirt with a cat on it, a little cat logo. So I can't wear that. I cannot have that shirt. But the color's beautiful. I know, but I can't have that logo on my shirt. Why? The fuck is wrong with the little logo? I can't. Because the symbol it represents and how it empowers, I'm a mage. If I wear that symbol, I cannot have it on me. I can have a little alligator and everything, but there was something about that cat that about the specific logo of that company that I can't wear this. because of the occult meaning behind it, of various angles of how it was drawn. And I said, I don't want to spend weeks trying to explain the laws of the universe and the occult knowledge required to understand what I mean. And I'm sorry to say, you don't need to understand to respect the fact that I'm not going to buy that t-shirt. But please, let's find a t-shirt of that color without that cat logo on it. It's just like, but I don't want a shirt. Let's find a shirt of that color, of the color you want, because I don't care. I don't care. It took a while to understand. Okay, you're not rejecting my t-shirt idea. You're just really complicated person. I said, yes, I'm a complicated person. Yes, I'm a mage. And I think after a year of that, she herself chose not to buy a specific object or t-shirt or clothing. I forgot, but it was last week. And she said, oh yeah, I understand. I can't do this because I'll as a mage, she didn't use the word mage, but I'll manifest something that I don't want with this. And I forgot what situation, but it was really fun to hear her say that she empowers the symbols that she carries around. She's not freaking out. And oh my gosh, she has so many cute little squishies, like tons, okay? So, no, don't freak out with this. Don't freak out. But if you see a little dog that looks like angry, don't wear that. Even if it's a cute little dog. No, don't empower something that represents an emotion or feeling that you're not ready to embrace in your life. And I'm gonna have a cat ready to fangs. I'm not. Okay? And I'm not a cat person, and I have a potential trauma against cats. I don't hate them. I just know how not to kill them. Okay? And I see a cat, I go squishy like anyone, all right? I just don't want to have one, okay, for personal reasons. And I have worked on it, and I still don't want one. Okay, so that won't change. I just got, you see how I still have potentials and unresolved issues because I keep talking about it and I lost the thread of the great magic agent. Yeah, that's how the potential work. I just did it. Ooh, got carried away in the parentheses that you don't need. That's funny because now we can talk about it. You see, I just did it. When you lose your train of thoughts in open parentheses, sometimes there's something carrying you away. Stay on topic. Not always. Sometimes parentheses is just conversation. It is an interesting class. It is a powerful class. I love it. Bless you, all of you. We're studying to become either saints or mages. And enjoy the ride. Peace.